So I know this is crazy surprising, but Device is in fact still very good at the game in 2024. In fact, I mean, Device gets kind of screwed by Simple because in like every sport and in everything, there's always this kind of argument. Oh, well, is the guy that was the best individual the best, or is the guy that won the most championships the best? And Device is just sitting here with 4 majors and just like an insane resume, but everyone's like, oh, well, we all agreed Simple was just that much better. And it's like Device, compared to normal humans, Device has been unbelievably insane for a ridiculously long time. And one thing people might not even know about Device, by the way, he used to be a rifler. When he first, like, in Dignitas in 2014, he was a rifler. He transitioned to opping. Small thing, by the way, this smoke, people probably already know this, but if you didn't know this, you want this smoke to land near the box. If it lands in the middle, there's going to be a huge gap over the top, but whatever the way smokes interact, they get a bit bigger if it lands right next to a wall. So it lands next to the wall, it's a little bit larger. That means Device can't see over it, and he's going to have to make his way out. And nice little kill on Flit. You can see the way the movement works. I mean, that's like, you call that Pisteron movement, but we're starting to call it donk movement now, because everyone does that all the time, and it's really deteriorating our society as a whole. I just think that the downfall of Western society is being brought about by the donk slide. Although the donk slide's a little bit different. Whatever. By the donk, you know, don't get hit rather than hit them in the head movement. It's unbelievable. Anyways, one of the things I heard about this game is that Astralis didn't do too well on their CT side, that they kind of got outcalled on their CT side, if I'm remembering the correct game. So I want to take a look at that. It's a little odd, by the way. They've got Yabi with an M4 close-up. So this is interesting. Huh. This is actually really interesting. So they full prioritize M4s. This is obviously a strategical decision, which means they have almost no utility. I think you could afford to go for at least one MP9. Like Yabi here with an MP9 is almost never a bad idea, right? Because when he flanks Cat too, that's going to be close range engagements. Like you can almost guarantee a bunch of close range engagements as the mid doors player. And then you also prevent the idea that like you could be in this situation where if they don't go for a force, they could get your M4. Or even if they do force, if they come out mid doors, let's be honest, the MP9, it might only be 1200, but I feel like I would prefer having an MP9 over an M4 close mid doors on second round. Even if I know they've got like Mac 10s and Galils, I feel like I might even just straight up prefer an MP9. But any case, I think one MP9 is almost never a bad idea because you're almost always going to have at least one player die. But in this case, Device picked it up, and so you just stack so much money so fast when you have a situation like this. And now they're playing against pistols. But again, an MP9 against pistols, you wouldn't feel too bad. He could farm a bit of money, and it would feel a little bit less bad to have Yabi, close mid doors with an MP9. But I like the idea. In general, I do enjoy the idea that it's not unintentional. A lot of teams, it just feels like they buy whatever they feel like. There does need to be some coordination. And here, Device is just going to be willing to take some engagements, which is great. You just kind of have to be willing to take that, especially because you have a player, close mid doors, but now Stown and Yabi are going to just get aggressive together. This is pretty much the best thing you can do. Catch the T's in spots where they're uncomfortable. They're not really like expecting these engagements. They're not in good positions to deal with these engagements. And you just take them down, right? If you can do it in a crossfire. The push out mid doors was a little aggressive, but he obviously thought that the molly took them out. Device reacted by, this is one of the best off angles in the game, I swear. I play this so often. I've played this literally for years. I've played this off angle, and it's just delivers just so consistently. It's unbelievable. Let's just fast forward through this. So Electronic does actually hold onto the M4, which is great for him. Device is going to be able to get himself an op round 4, which is amazing. And you already have a good amount of money on. I mean, this isn't a good amount of money. They've got money, okay, is what I mean to say. They've got some money. They've got some money working for them. They're not broke the way you hope to be. It's a bit of a risk. Things can go pretty wrong if you lose all of those players, and then you can end up in the first gun round with like FAMASs and stuff. It can be kind of barbaric. But when it works, it works. But Device is going to stay long here. You do need this once in a while. He's just going to cover the long hold. So because if you don't do this, right, then players can do lurks out long. And I believe VP is a team that does do that, where they just walk out long on a little bit of a delay. I think it depends a bit on how good your player here is. You know, if you've got Simple there, you probably don't need to support him. Although Simple's not an opera, but you probably don't need to support him quite as much. All right, so wait for the execute. Nice molly as the execute comes in. Lots of utility from Virtus Pro. You're expecting a couple flashes. Players used to just dodge that flash outright, but I think in general, there's less kind of flashes left over with the way teams are taking map control, and that strat is a little less common. You used to see people turn around specifically waiting for that. Yeah, Device did his job, and then you can just retake from CT and long, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You should be in a good spot. You do need Device to land some shots. It would be amazing if Device or Stare had a flash here, because you'd be able to clear the gap, because there is like this gap here where you're kind of somewhat uncomfortably fighting. Once you get here on this retake, the T's are kind of screwed. It's very uncomfortable because you can also have like a late guy come up here. It just becomes so weird to fight for the T's. But getting across that gap, you sometimes can lose that. Although that's usually probably where you get most of your kills as well anyways. So, in any case. Nade and molly, which I do like, especially with how small the new molly is. But, you know, without a nade and molly, you can still sometimes get punished if you go for the straight cross. One of the things I think Astralis is really good at, from what I've seen of their Dust 2 so far, is they do a really good balancing. They kind of make, optimally in theory, my understanding is that strategically, what you want to do is you want to do things a certain amount so that, like, even if your opponent knew the exact strategy you were going for, this is, I guess this is supposed to be game theory optimal. If they knew the exact strategy you were going for, that they still wouldn't be able to come up with a perfect counter strategy. It wouldn't be like, oh, well, if we just rush B every round, we're going to over-deliver super heavily because we know that they play light on B too much. Sometimes I feel like certain teams can be a little bit exploitable if you get enough of their demos. And I feel like Astralis, probably like because Device is IGLing and they're a team that was on top for so long, everyone was trying to counter them forever. So they had to be kind of this like optimal, like no kind of weaknesses team, and so they're still there now. It still feels like, you know, they counter the counter so often and so effectively. It just feels like it's very awkward. It would be very awkward to try and anti-strat Astralis. But Device, I mean, he's hitting all the Device shots. You know what I mean? He's hitting all the shots he's supposed to be hitting, which is what you want, what you expect from Device. Is he hitting every shot? There's a couple shots he could have hit. Dust 2 can be a little bit awkward, especially the angle. I always struggled with this angle, and I've talked to other operas that are actually good at the game that have struggled with this in the past. But that, like, car to short, does sometimes feel like you want to be double scoped. It's kind of that range, but it's not quite that range. Plus, you need to be dodging flashes, and if you're double scoped, you're not going to be able to dodge the flashes effectively. So it's like, it's one of those middle grounds where if you're single scoped, it's easy to miss, but if you're double scoped, it's easy to get blind by flashes you want to be avoiding. So it gets a little awkward. And I think VP, they were just kind of taking some map control in general. They were pushing off Cat, which is great. They're trying to prompt the re-aggression, right? They're waiting for this exact play from Astralis, and Astralis is thinking about it. Like Stown, he might have even gone through if there was no smoke there. But VP, they just took map control so early. Like, how early in the round did they get Cat control? It must have been so early. Yeah, like, they've pushed off. They're up Cat at 130. And yeah, 120, they have full Cat control, and not only that, but they use good enough utility to push what was an attempted kind of Cat aggression from Astralis off. So now they have all the time in the world to do anything they want. And they're actually straight up trying to prompt this aggression into tunnels. They were actually just straight... Is that... Did Astralis, like, aggress in tunnels? Maybe this is something they just do often? Not... They didn't do it this round. Did they do it in the first gun round, maybe? Maybe this is just something Astralis are known to do. That they get aggressive in the tunnels. They didn't do it in either of the first 2 gun rounds. Interesting. I mean, this is just something teams do somewhat often, especially if they're playing heavy in middle. If a team, you know, or sorry, light on A, I should say. You rotate that second player over to mid, you rotate the mid player over to B, and you're willing to get aggressive in B here. And they're really prompting this exact play. And bro just walks right into it. And then they have all the time in the world where they can do whatever they want, you know? And part of the, like, one of the keys for that type of play, by the way, is to make sure that on the other side of the map, they're not using, like, 3 players worth of util. Oh, sorry, it's the other way around? Whatever. Okay, Device kind of trapped here. Oh my god, how does he not kill Flit? That was almost so clean, dude. All right, very nice shot onto James. That flash is wild. It feels like it bounces off like, oh, I can't believe he doesn't kill Flit there. That's crazy. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. So, Device is playing, you know, pretty well. He's doing pretty well for himself. Can't complain about Device. He's got a USP when his teammate has an M4, though. So this is one of the reasons, if you look at my, like, stat sheet, right? It shows some oppers, like, some players are really good, and, oh, they had a save. Okay, my bad. I thought he bought. I was gonna say, when you look at my gun versus gun round stat sheet, one of the things it doesn't show is those types of things where oppers might be saving for an op on second round, right? It doesn't show those types of things because it's just gun versus gun and gun versus, like, pretty hard eco. Like, 1800 per player is relatively hard ecos. You have games where that doesn't happen at all, right? And some games it happens like 3-4 times, whatever. So there is a big middle ground that's being missed in those stats. I was really just primarily interested in gun versus gun. That was really the main thing I was interested in. That's why I did that. That's why I ran it the way I did. Someone said they're like, I get really annoyed by how much you change the speed of the demo, and I think the problem is that my fast forward button is like 4x speed. I need to change it to 2x speed so I can fast forward a little more comfortably, because it just goes so fast that I have to, like, turn it on and off. Another nice play. James is one of those players that can be tough to play against as an opper, because you want to... So this is something people have talked about with VP for a long time, and it just continues to be true. Teams have gotten definitely better at dealing with it, but I think Dust 2 is probably a map that they're, you know, is tough to deal with for this, because Dust 2, if you lose cat control, you don't have tons control. Once the T's have full cat control, if they have a good amount of utility, it always feels like the T's have, I don't want to say an advantage, although, yeah, they might literally have an advantage. They're in a good spot to win the round if they have cat control, mid control, especially if they push the CTs off of, like, if they push the CTs off of this area, then they probably do straight up have an advantage. It's just so hard, because what you do on Dust 2, the key, there's a key rotator on most maps, right? On Dust 2, the key rotator is this elevator player. Sorry, I tried to let you see that kill at least. The key rotator is this elevator player, and you, as T's, you try and draw them over to A, and then you hit out mid to B, right? Or you try and draw them over to mid, and then you hit out cat, right? That's kind of what you're looking for. So he's not in the right spot at the right time. And once the T's have cat and mid control, that becomes quite easy to do. And so as CTs, what you really don't want is you don't want to lose cat and mid for free and then just let the T's do whatever they want. So what VP are really good at, that there's certain teams have been good at this. I mean, lots of teams are good at this in general, but VP feels like a team that really punishes the CT side for retaking that control. So they just kind of choke you out of control of the map, and they're you can see what the tons play, you can see what the mid play. They're waiting for that re-aggression to come in. They're baiting you to try and go for it, and they're waiting for it. And at best, you know, James gets flashed off that angle, backs up, and he's fine, you know? It's like it's not the end of the world. And when the CTs go for a 4-man long stack, they're so good at taking control at the same time, right? They know James reads that that's a 4-man long stack, and just sends Flit straight out mid. Or maybe Flit just had a feeling or something. But Flit just goes straight out mid. Oh my god, the reverse Bogdan. No way. Steal. Steal, where you at? And then he just team flashes him. He's like, fuck this guy. You want to hold that angle instead of giving me the op? Get blast. Get blind. I want to say get flash, get blind, whatever. Anyways, yeah. So they just like suffocate control and then they're waiting. They're waiting for that exact play. And they've done it now twice perfectly where they've been exactly prompted the aggression that Astralis went for and countered it. So, actually, in this series, Bro has a really good series, which seems that it could be interesting to watch as Device is, you know, sitting on B where he's not going to see anyone. So this is, there was a name for this strat where you have a player, it used to be a player, then sometimes there's two players, drop down, flash lands above after they're already out. You try and kill this player car, and some versions of the strat would have a smoke right here, like right on this corner, to stop that exact pit play. But man, people are so, like, people have gotten so good aim-wise as the years have gone on, that it's just like, oh, someone's in pit? Well, he's dead anyways. Like, he's already dead. Alright, it's just a save here. But I think if that strat was to become meta again, you'd see different variations of it. The thing is that strat is not currently, like, hugely in the meta. People will throw that smoke, but I haven't seen too many people actually drop down off of that smoke. You know, that's a different situation. So, by the way, teams like to use this best spawn. You can see James has it, to cross, because you can get across actually safely, I believe. You can get all the way across. Maybe they can hear you. But definitely you can get across before the T's can jump up. So you can do this with a rifle, or you can do it with an AWP. But one of the things that you benefit from is that if you do this, especially if you're like the tons player on a default and you do this, then your opponents always have to worry that someone could be here. And that means that they have to, like, you see Spirit will molly this out a decent amount of the time because someone could be there. And if someone could be there, then it makes the whole round very awkward. So you try and push that guy out if you can. But if you never go for that play, then teams know that, which, you know, at the pro level, they're going to know that, then they don't have to worry about any of this type of stuff. So I'm trying to focus on Device more than anything, because I think the video is probably going to be titled though at Device. But, you know, I'm interested in how both of these teams play, right? So I'm trying to catch a lot of everything. Device is kind of screwed here, though. At this point, you know, I think he just wants to get an AK if he can. Did he hit that shot? No. Is Norbert already hit? Does he hit this shot? Tell me. No. You wouldn't get an assist for 25 damage, right? He hits that shot. He hits that shot. He hits that shot. What the fuck? How? How? Hold on, I got my slow-mo button ready. Slow-mo, slow-mo. What? That is so bullshit, dude. This guy. And they molly themselves. Oh my god, I missed that too. They molly themselves. Right? The molly spreads to them? No? Fame did it this time. Flit blinded James. Fame mollies him. Get out. Alright, so Device gets the AK. They're just gonna save here for the final round. They could probably have just gone for it. But there was just, like, the problem is, you get a slightly better buy by keeping the AKs, right? Because I think they would have had a buy anyways. That's why I'm saying they could have gone for it. If this was, like, if the T's had any chance of having a broken economy, maybe they would have gone for exits. But you get a slightly better buy by holding on to the AKs. I think they might have only had like 4,200 on one of these players, which means it is actually a notably better buy. And they had like a 0% chance of winning that round, right? So it's like, why not? Why not just save? Wait, so James killed someone crossing and was out? Oh no, it's actually Norbert picks up the op. Oh, this is such a classic play. You have the worst spawn, he goes for the peek. Mid tries to kill someone crossing, and then if he hits the shot, definitely if he hits the shot, but maybe no matter what, you just go for the B rush. That's like a classic overtime play, or like, yeah, last round of the half play. It's so hard to deal with. I mean, the way you deal with it is just by not dying crossing. Amazing, right? What a play. You smoke cross and don't get spammed through the smoke. Sometimes I've seen players actually delay, especially on last round of the half. You like delay for a quarter of a second or just like half a second or something, because there is a timing. So I think it's like in CSGO, they changed the spawns back a little bit in CS2, didn't they? Did they? No, they didn't change Dust 2 spawns, or did they? Oh, I can't remember. But it was like 139? There was a timing where, like, when the Krieg meta was in effect, we found this timing where if you just looked for the time on the clock and then spammed like 4 or 5 shots, your odds of killing someone crossing were actually really fucking high, because through a smoke, you know, everyone was smoking cross, but you still had this situation where pretty much there's a timing when most players start crossing. There's like a 2-second period where pretty much everyone crosses every round. Anyways. Vice decoy long corner. Doesn't, I mean, is there a benefit to that? What if you need that $50, dude? I'm not blank, but $50 is $50, right? Alright, this is probably just a standard cross smoke, and there's going to be dueling out. I always like to see someone with a P250 when they do this. And device has armor and utility. It would be so nice to see a P250, because it's hard for a Glock to do very much at that range. You're basically just kind of baiting yourself, but at the same time, you know, they probably use 2 flashes, right? They use 1 flash long, I'm guessing. Yeah, you've got Stare throwing the 1 flash long, which is useful. It's definitely useful. You could argue maybe like you could argue if it's protecting too much, like maybe going out long, you're just saying if they are stacked long, we're going to duel, and if they're not, then we're, you know, if I have a P250, it's going to be a better chance to win the round. But I'm interested, because when I think about this strat, I just feel like I usually see this guy have a P250 instead of maybe the second flash. But maybe the flash is just better. Maybe just having 2 flashes is just better than having the P250. It's interesting. I'd like to look into exactly how that's used. In any case, device ends up planting the bomb. It looks like VP are just happy to save here, but Electronic has no armor. Fame has armor at least. Electronic should be probably trying to get kills. I mean, well, no, they're losing the money anyways, but him going for exits makes the most sense. If he can get some extra money from getting kills. If the bomb's going to explode, so the bomb gives $250 extra per player, right? So I always have a problem when people save on pistol round and they have like a smoke, because then you just lose money, right? Because it's $12.50 if the bomb explodes extra, and then you have a smoke, so you lose $650, right? $300 for the kill and $300 for the smoke, or $300 for the kill and $300 for the smoke. So you're just overall losing money in that situation. And it's funny because, like, even when those rounds feel unwinnable, I'll tell you, Floppy had a 1v5. I'm pretty sure it was against Astralis. It was CT side nuke. He had a kit and no armor. He 1v5'd. And I'm pretty sure he wasn't going to go for it, and he goes, fuck it, I don't want the bomb to explode, just to save a kit. So he goes for it, and he actually wins, 1v5, right? You can in fact win those rounds, you know? Anyways, that's a nice flash. I'll show you the lineup if you want it. People know this flash, but it's still a good flash. And then use that to take Cat. And you can notice the timing, right? I mean, it's a different round completely, but I'm just going to point out the time on the clock. 50 seconds is about when Astralis got cat control, or 55. Whereas, like, if you looked at that VP round where they were prompting the B re-aggression, they took it at like 120, right? The lower the time on the clock, the less ability the T's have to kind of like meticulously manipulate rotates and stuff like that. Flank from Norbert just to confirm that the round is fucked. Norbert flanks top mid, and he's like, yep, we lost this round. Game over. Stown should I don't like him hunting alone. I really don't. Because they don't have any guns, right? VP they don't have any guns. So, and Stown is lit. If Stown has 100 health, this makes a lot more sense. But now you could see, I think he realized, by the way. I think he actually realized. He was like, oh, nobody followed me top mid. Like, I think he might have expected someone to go with them or something. Because they had cat control. They could have just, like, hunted that guy, like, killed him. And prevented, like, any more long flanks or something. But I think he expected someone to go with him. And then he ended up in that spot where he's like, well, gonna sit in this corner and hopefully their whole team doesn't come out long and kill me. He was in a decent spot though. If they came out long, he probably would have got like 2. But then you run the risk of giving away a Galil for free. And not only do you have to rebuy, which is just a waste of money, but you give them a gun for next round, especially if they're already gonna have 3 players surviving. You know, 3 5-7s and a Galil is tough to deal with. All right, Device has, I believe, the second best spawn. I'm gonna go for the peak. Players have been, I would say, tempting fate with the spawns that they use to throw long utility recently. I've noticed, like, on Dust 2 so far, since it's come back into the map pool, I've seen this is tempting fate, okay? You're on an anti-eco and you're dueling a scout. This is like the most terrifying thing in Counter-Strike because it's like, yeah, I kind of have to duel this, but at the same time, I absolutely don't want to duel this. This is such an easy way to give away a gun, but I still have to. This is like my whole job. It's like, dude, it's so easy. And then if you die with the scout, then the scout just starts spam re-peeking because he knows you don't have a scout holding him anymore. And then your team just all gets tagged, and then you just get fucking finished off by 5-7 spamming you through smoke for 20 damage. Oh god, that is so terrifying, that duel, dude. I hate it so much. Oh lord, it is the worst, dude. Straight up, that is the worst. Oy. Yeah, anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. That is terrifying. Oh yeah, they've been getting a little enthusiastic with the way that, you know, I've seen a lot of players in theory, like, that's a nice smoke. That's gonna be inside mid doors, right? That blows up the whole way. Nice. Not nice. No, it missed. Anyways, it used to be that you always send your best spawn to long to molly it, and teams have kind of not, some teams don't do that, right? And the problem with not doing that is that the first T spawn just peeking corner is just going to destroy you. So it's interesting because it's an interesting way that the meta kind of shifts, right? Because if the first T spawn is consistently going for that peak, then they should be getting punished, because then you just send the best T spawn to always molly, or you send the best CT spawn to always molly it. And if they always molly it, that player just takes free damage once in a while, and never gets a kill, right? But if the Ts aren't doing that enough, then the CTs can send the second spawn, and then the CTs just have an easier life. But then a T that does go with the best spawn just dominates. I don't know. Nobody cares, dude. Nobody cares, dude. This is like way too. This is like some coach is watching this and being like, yeah, you're right. I agree. I already knew that because everyone knows that, but I also know that, and thank you. Like, really? Why? So again, I mean, this is just Dust 2, right? I've got my hands in the air. This is just Dust 2. They lost the player early, so 4v5, VP just stacked towards A. So you have the options, right? What you saw Astralis doing is that they would lose some map control, and they were kind of tending towards getting aggressive to try and take some control back. And VP is, I think they tried to get aggressive on short and it didn't work, and then they're just like willing to stack. You can do a bit of both. You can do a bit of both even on the same round, or like especially on Inferno, Anubis, you regroup. Dust 2 is kind of, because it's a 3-lane map laid out so kind of spread, it's a little bit harder to like shift the stack, get aggressive, and then shift the stack back. You can kind of do that with mid. You can get aggressive on Cat and then go back. and you come out mid or whatever, and like restack mid. But you can't really do that anywhere else, so it's a little bit harder than most maps. All right, so they just got straight up long control. Then you have the aggression in mid. I've seen Spirit do this. Lots of teams are liking to do this. Now, one of the things teams often do, the reason I mentioned that Vitality sending Zywoo through here was a little odd, is because a lot of teams will have their Opper kind of post up here. Their Opper will sometimes be a part of this, especially if they're double opping. I've seen the Opper kind of post on this because this is like an easy, somewhat easy way, I think, to kind of deal with this play, is you come through here and you just kill this guy top mid, and then you can jump back around this box and kind of be safe, right? Some teams will do that. So there is a risk if you send the Opper to counter. But this duel is going to make a big difference in the round. Oh, Sound. If he had an AK, he had the money for it, he was just saving. He was penny pinching, and there's a point where frugal becomes cheap, okay? And you could argue if he was being frugal or he was being cheap. Because actually, if he gets that kill, this round turns out a whole lot different. But if you look at what's happening here, this is what VP wanted. They took that mid control, they held for a while, they could hear people moving around in long, they moved back over to site, and they're just going to hold site. Oh, Device, no! That's another kill that would have just straight up won them the round. Won them the round? It would have given them, it would have put them in a good spot. He just, how does he miss that? So one of the things that happens, by the way, is that sometimes X-ray turns off when you go back and around. Okay, let's look at this. How does this miss? Oh, he just misses, just barely. Oh, that's too bad. That would have been a big kill to get. Big kill. And Stare actually tries to come through. So, I mean, this is just never going to work when you're fighting 4 people, I don't think. Yeah, this is the way Astralis is using it, and this is strong. I like this play, where you kind of just have a player come straight through the smoke, but that nade absolutely destroyed any chance of that working. Any chance of that working was destroyed by that nade, because it slowed Stare, and it gave the visibility through, so he's not really surprising anybody. The timing on that, though, is very particular. That flash that Device throws needs to be at the exact right moment to blind the player as Stare is coming through. Is he gonna get jumped, M4? I'm surprised this round got so close. I mean, this is kind of one of the things about Dust 2. Even though they had a 4-man stack and they got the entry, you can still turn things pretty quickly and still make it work. Wow. I can't believe they won that round, and they're still like, wow. Okay. All right. Well done. VP was just in the perfect spot for that. All right, Device had one of the best spawns here. Flash doesn't blind him. Is the flash too deep? What happens with, why doesn't this flash blind him? I think he might just peek at the exact right moment. Maybe he just has the perfect peek. Let me see. Yeah, flash is just a little slow. Is it because of Device's angle? No, Device has the best spawn, so that flash is just early. The flash is, in fact, just early. And again, I'm pretty sure VP just don't... I just clicked off my monitor. Give me a sec. I'm pretty sure VP aren't sending their best spawn. Because if you have your best spawn, he can theoretically just cross straight to pit, right? They do send their best spawn. So why is he so slow? Does he run straight there? The jump doesn't help. Oh, but he waits at the corner. So, yeah, I mean, the first spawn can go straight around that corner, but the problem with if you have that first spawn go straight around the corner, you end up having other problems. Other problems being, like, someone can get aggressive out long doors with some flashes, blind your support, you're blind trying to cross the pit, and you think you're safely crossing the pit, but you can get caught before you get into pit, and it's almost impossible to, like, win that. You're just, you know, he's ready for you, and you're gonna have to counter strafe when you're surprised. It's just really hard to win. So the Jame rotate in. He's in the right spot. They're injured. I mean, B on Dust 2. By the way, this spot, big box B on Dust 2, is one of the strongest spots of any retake on any map. It is straight up. And that CT smoke, I don't think helped anybody. But this is one of the benefits also of T's. If you take B early, usually people walk back B late and they have no utility. But if you take B early and you have the re-smokes for the doors, it becomes so incredibly tough to actually retake. So, man, I mean, look, Astralis have won a couple rounds here, but I feel like they have just been straight up outgamed by Jame. Like, if we're talking IGL to IGL, I mean, some of it is kind of somewhat, I don't want to say luck, but it's like kind of the right call at the right time. You might call a stack because it's a good idea, but that doesn't mean that Astralis is going to run into it every time. You're just kind of calling the percentages, and sometimes those work and sometimes they don't. But I'd say on average, Jame has kind of been calling extremely well. And there's different types of calling, right? Because the protocols that Astralis have allowed them to put themselves in pretty good spots here, despite being down in players. Like, I think the A take Astralis had was quite strong, and like the missed Molly here, there's been a couple missed pieces of utility that have really that would have won the round for VP. And oh, this Molly gets missed because he gets he throws that Molly. He still throws that Molly. It just doesn't. If that Molly pushes Yabi out, then they most likely just win this round. But again, that big box, B on Dust 2, big box, that is like the prime position of all afterplant positions. What position is better? Like mini pit on Inferno in CSGO when it was like taller and felt way more comfortable. You're like Heaven on Nuke, but that's like not a standard afterplant. You're not usually going to be Heaven on an afterplant. Vice missing a flash. Never helps. Is that flash actually? I don't think that flash is really supposed to blind this player that much, is it? So Fame's just in good spot, and they're just going to try and force through. Not loving this idea quite as much. Huh. Couldn't they just nade out this smoke? So one of the things you want to make sure you're doing with the CT smoke always is getting it deep enough. They do nade out the smoke, but they're just a little too far behind it. Do they have to be that far behind? Like, are they too far compared to where they should be? Or are they in the perfect spot and they just have to be? So you nade out the smoke. It's down, takes 3 damage from it. They're just, yeah, Fame just dodges the flashes here really, really intelligently. Like, that's a really solid play by Fame. You have to give it to Fame, you know? You have to give it to him. He does dodge. I think it doesn't help that Device's first flash missed, but I'm not sure if that would have blinded him. I think it might not have. Doubling up big box is a play. You see him. 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 Yabi. If Yabi gets that kill, this round is very different. This round goes very differently. This round goes very differently. I feel like I might have reviewed this demo already. Oh my god, I reviewed this demo already, didn't I? I've seen that play. I feel like I've definitely seen that play. I feel like I've definitely seen that play already. Oh, tell me I haven't reviewed this game already. I'm doing it again? Oh my god. Well, I guess then I don't think I did. But if I did, and you saw it, then you can tell the differences in how much I've been paying attention. I think Device is just supposed to get that kill. I mean, this is a really good peek by Electronic, admittedly. But I think Device just misses. Does he hear the nade throw? Does Norbert hear the nade throw? I mean, so this is what I'm talking about. Norbert can get across quick. There is risk, but there is benefit also. He hears the nade throw. I think Device has a chance at that shot, and he just doesn't get it. He's so ready for this player. I don't even think that was an intentional bait by Electronic. That is just that's almost like a Xantares peak. Device is like holding so narrow because he's so ready for like a jiggle or something, and then he just gets over peaked. He has to flick. That's well done by Electronic. I mean, that's well done. But again, Astralis 4v5. They've been going back to B over and over, and VP haven't really been stacking it. They haven't really been stacking, like over stacking B, but they've been holding. They've been getting. Their players have been delivering straight up on these B holds consistently. And that almost makes me feel like Astralis are going to want to go back, because the way that the B-holds have been delivering has been, you might think to yourself that it's a little unsustainable, and you're thinking, okay, they won't stack B. We've been losing on B. They're not going to stack it because we've been losing on it. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. So at least, even if things have been going wrong, you know, we're at least not going to run into a stack. Whereas they might stack A, knowing that we've been shut down at B a couple times. But in fact, Jame is a step ahead. And although the individuals do just deliver, like Fame just gets a really nice 2K spray down there, right? And Electronic got a kill on Long to open the round. The mind game is being won by Jame. I gotta say that straight up. Jame is outright winning the mind game right now, the chess battle. So in this case, Norbert was just faking control while Electronic was going cat. But Flit, I don't have VP in my spreadsheet. And I'm thinking maybe Flit should be in my spreadsheet, because he's getting a lot of, he's going ump. I guess the nice thing about the ump is, doesn't it have like, is it the lowest armor penetration? Is it like a gun that's kind of sucks against armor, or is it the opposite? Because if you think about it, like, man, you get aggressive with an MP9, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but you're like, if I die with this MP9, they could do something with it. You get aggressive with an ump, that shit is worse than an MP9 at range, dude. You'd rather have an MP9 at range than an ump, you know, like long range. What is someone gonna do with an ump at long range on T-side Dust 2 against a buy? Nothing. What are they gonna do to the MP9? Also nothing. But maybe they could like jump in B, you know, first or something. Maybe they could come out mid doors. I mean, the ump could do well there. The ump's not an MP9. That's what I'm getting at. That's all I'm getting at. The ump is worse than the MP9, but if you play it in the right situations, this is probably just the look. The real answer here, guys, is that Flit likes the ump, and he's happy to play with it. Okay, but the theoretical coolest possible answer would be that Flit likes the MP9 more, but he's happy with the ump, and he knows that he would rather give the opponent an ump. So this is the other way to get aggressive in tunnels instead of getting aggressive with a rifle. You can have an opposite here. The problem is that if this op misses, then it can go very wrong. But if this op does hit the shot, then it's great. And then not only that, because he shuts down the one side, now he's just gonna mow him down, right? Like there's so little you can do if you're Astralis. Once the ton side of this push is cleared, and there's no great way to clear Jame here, you know? There really is no great way to clear Jame in that position. Some players will do like a jump around, like the jump around, but that doesn't always work either, and it does let them know you're there in case there isn't an opera there. So like, if he knows an opera's there for sure, he could do certain things, right? But the problem is that you never know for sure the opera's there. So you're playing the percentages again. You're playing against a large amount of potential CT plays. But if you know the opera's there, there's really is, because there might be a rifler there, right? So if you like try and flash him off, that doesn't mean that you're gonna. God, that was such a clean flick, dude. It doesn't mean that a flash is a good idea. They could just swing in. The rifler could swing in when the flash pops. This is such a clean flick. Oh. Clean. Okay, that's... Everyone's like, Vu, aren't you supposed to be like face of 10 or something? That's like a standard. I've always sucked at spamming through the doors, honestly. I've always sucked at spamming through the doors. It's nice. I find it quite appealing visually when someone's great at spamming through the doors. I mean, Scout, T-side Dust 2 is one of the only spots that a Scout, like, sorry, one of the only T-sides where you can justify buying a Scout. And Device did quite well with the Scout. The problem is, one of the things about the Scout is it's cool, but it almost feels like, I don't mean to say that this is like how it is exactly, but it does feel almost like a stat pad weapon, in that like Device can get that and he might get a kill or two, But the problem is, like, is it actually helping them win the round? Because then they have to go out long. They don't have to go out long, but like you kind of like, you're like, oh, well, I've got the scout, we should take long control, and then the scout can get some tags and maybe get a kill, but it's like, then, you know, your team has to work around the fact you have a scout and you could still die. I don't know, is having a scout when you go for long control, if you're already going for long control, it makes sense, but if you're like, well, I've got a scout, let's go for long control, which is probably not what he's thinking, but I feel like that can almost bait you into to those types of situations, and then once he dies, like his whole team just they crumble, because, well, the scout can't control that much, and they just lose control of a bunch of stuff, and you know, there it goes. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, check out my Patreon to support the content, because this, you know, that would be cool, and you could get your own demo review. And by the way, man, you know what's annoying? Okay, people talk shit in the comments, and if they want to say, Vu, you're 2000 elo, and you're trying to say that you know the game, you suck. Well, fair. I can say, well, I was like nearly 3000 when that was like whatever top 20 in NA or something, and then I haven't been playing seriously since 2018, but I don't respond that. But I mean, like, that's fair. But for some reason, on like, if you look at my account on CS stats, it says I'm face at 9, which I'm not. So people go, Vu, you're face at 9. Why are you talking about this shit? And it's like, first of all, I'm not. I've only been face at 9 for like a total of like fucking 15 of my 600 face it games or whatever. Why does it say I'm fucking face at 9? I played a game to make it so it would say I'm face at 10, because I'm face at 10, and I played a game. I haven't been playing face it, like I played like 10 face it games in CS2 so far. I played a game, did terribly because I'm not practiced, okay, but we won, and I'm like, thank God. Okay, so I'm face at 10, but it still says I'm face at 9 on all these fucking tracking sites. But, you know, at the same time, if you can't just look up face it Vu, then how smart are you really to be talking shit in the first place? You know what I mean?